going to be making the pastry base, and it's a simple pastry base that you would find in any bureau book. However, I'm going to be using plain flour instead of self-raising flour because I don't want the raise. We've got 8 ounces of plain flour, 1 ounce of sugar because I'm making a sweet pastry, a pinch of salt, 2 ounces of lard, vegetable fat, whatever you want to use, and 2 ounces of butter. I'm going to whiz that up. Just pop that in there. The reason I do it in a mixer rather than by hand is because it keeps it cool basically. All the ingredients to make this a lovely short pastry are straight out of the fridge. So if I start getting my hands in there, it'll warm up the butter and everything, and the pastry won't be the same. So I prefer to do it in a mixer. However, if you haven't got a mixer, as long as your hands are cold, which mine are because it's like 37 degrees today, it's quite cold in this area at the moment, so it wouldn't have made any difference to be honest, but I do like to use my mixer because it's quicker. Now I'm going to add the water to my pastry. Now the best way to do this is to do it a little bit at a time. And my mixer is temperamental, so we could be here a minute or two. In the first dessert spoon goes. I'm going to hold on to it, put another bit in. And I'm just going to keep drizzling until it all comes together. And this is ice cold water. Right, here we go. Last bit. Come on, you do it. Once it comes together, it's time to take it out and give it a little bit of a knead. Out it comes. I'm using a piece of parchment paper because I don't want to make a mess, or at least not too much of a mess. And I'm using gloves today because I've got nail polish on and I don't really want to get nail polish in my pastry. My hands are clean though, so I give it a little bit of a knead. With pastry, to make it short, you don't want to overwork it, but I find if you underwork it, then you have problems as well, in that it becomes too crumbly. And with using a mixer, I find it doesn't tend to work it that hard. By knead, I don't mean, you know, like dough, I just mean bring it together until it's all one homogeneous mass, and then put it into a shape. I'm going to place this into a bag and I'm going to let it rest for about half an hour. The coldness of the fridge will harden and solidify the actual fats in the pastry, which is what you're after. So I'm now going to roll out my pastry. It's been resting for about 3/4 of an hour or so. I'm going to roll this out. And to make it a little bit easier, I'm going to put it between 2 pieces of parchment paper. This means basically that it'll be easier, she says, it'll be easier for it to not stick to the surface that I'm on because it's non-stick parchment. So this is what I'm trying to film this. It's one of those old-fashioned recipes that everybody loves that is of a certain age. I don't mind it, I find it somewhat sweet. It's made up of lovely, easy ingredients that are easy to obtain, cheap to make. You don't have to use lard and butter. You could use all butter or all margarine, but use the block margarine, not the soft margarine. Now in years gone by, a treacle tart used to be made with treacle, not what it is today. It was made with what the Americans call molasses and what we call treacle. However, when they worked out how to make golden syrup, or syrup as it is now, from treacle in the 1880s, I think it was, they started using the more readily available golden syrup. And the original recipes for Treacle Tart. Had currants and sultanas and so forth. Lots of dried fruit, mixed peel and all the rest of it in it. It doesn't today, unless of course you're from my area and there's something called a Cumberland tart, which does have those items in it and a little less sugar. It also has a bit of almond in it as well. So I'm nearly there, thankfully. I'm going to pinch a bit of this paper from the Lard. If it's vegetable fat that you're using, that's fine. And I'm just going to grease the tray because we don't want it to stick. You could use butter if you so wished. It makes no difference. Pop that there. And I'm just going to hopefully lift this into here. So I'm going to take off the top layer because we don't need that layer. And I'm going to turn this one upside down and take the top off it. Pray for me, guys, because I hate this. Oh, good thing is it will stick to this, so just be careful. There we go. And then as easily as you can, and we're going to push it into the corners first before we do anything. We want a slight ridge round the edge on these. And don't worry if you can't get it quite exact. Don't forget, this is homemade, everybody. You're not going to get it to look like the shops. And that's the beauty of it. Back in the day, they just used to pop it on a plate and then shove the ingredients in and away you go. So, there you go. And then just gently peel away the brown paper. If you find that it makes a hole or anything, don't worry, just patch it with a bit of cut off pastry. Nobody's going to see the underneath part. There we go. Dun, 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 dun. I hate pastry. Anyway, so taking a knife, just trim off the edges if there are any. Make sure your knife's sharp because otherwise it won't work. And my board is clean. I've disinfected it I don't know how many times today. So just make sure. So there's 200 grams of golden syrup in my pan and I'm going to heat it up gently on the stove here. Just until it's more fluid. Once that's more fluid and warmed through, you could do it in the microwave if you wish. I'm going to add 75 grams of breadcrumbs and the zest of a lemon. It will offset the sweetness of the golden syrup. I think traditionally it didn't have a lemon in it. Just keep an eye on it because it does heat up and get fluid quite quickly. Doesn't need a lot. Don't get it too hot, everybody. We just want it so that it'll absorb the breadcrumbs and the lemon zest. And with that in mind, I'll get a spatula so that I can mix it in. We don't want it to, oh there you go, that's it. It only took a minute or two, didn't it? So I'm going to take that off and I'm going to add in, I'm just going to mix that in so that it's all nicely mixed in, or should we say reasonably. And I'm going to put all that in there and give it a good mix. Although this is something my mother made and my nan, it's not something I've ever made, I've got to say, probably because of the sugar content. I have eaten it, but I've never actually made it. Let it cool down, because I need it to cool down before I put it into the pastry case, otherwise we will have one heck of a mess. So I've taken my pastry case out of the oven, out of the fridge, and I've got my breadcrumb mixture here, and I'm just going to tip it in, spread it about. This is all like leftover food, this, so as in leftovers, using up your breadcrumbs, because if you didn't eat all your bread in a week, then you would need to use it up, and this was how they used it up. In one instance, others were steamed puddings. There's quite a few recipes on my channel. If you have a look, I'll link them up there and down below for you to have a look at. Now then, once you've got that sorted, it's time to pop it in the oven. Gas mark 6. I'll put the conversions on the screen now for you, for approximately 30 minutes or until it's cooked.